All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join our webinar. My name is Melissa Erkic, Vice President at Stinson ITS, and I have the honor of being your host today. I'm joined by Michael Griffith, President, North America at Advanced Mobility Analytics Group, or AMAG for short. For those of you that may not be familiar with Stinson ITS, we're a distributor, integrator, and manufacturer of intelligent transportation systems. And the absolute best part of being a distributor is our ability to seek out innovative technology to address industry challenges. Many of you rely on historical crash data or point-in-time conflict and near-miss analysis studies to identify safety risk and potential countermeasures. And while the data we get from these sources is valuable, it has its limitations. In search of alternatives, we found AMAG. AMAG entered the market with Smart Safety, their post-processing study-based solution, while working on developing Smart Operations, their real-time and continuous solution, which is now ready. At Stinson ITS, we're so excited about Smart Operations that we're offering no-cost pilots to agencies that can benefit from real-time, continuous conflict and near-miss analysis, monitoring, and alerts. Please feel free to reach out to me directly after the webinar if you'd like to take part in this no-cost pilot program. At this point, I'll hand it over to Michael to walk you through AMAG's suite of solutions. And if you will, please hold your questions until the end, as we're trying to get through the presentation and then leave some time for questions at the end of the webinar. Michael?
Great. Great. Thank you, Melissa. I'm very excited to be here. And it's important to note right up front that Stinson ITS is our exclusive distributor in Canada. That was an announcement made recently, and we're really excited to have this partnership with them, and they are going full steam ahead and actually bringing these solutions to Canada. So it's out to a great start, and we're excited to share with you our solutions and engage in some Q&A at the end. So in terms of current customers, we do have a number of customers across 8 different countries. The company headquarters is based in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. So that's where we actually did our early deployments, but we have deployments in Canada, the US, and other countries, and these are some of the main customers that we've worked with over the past few years. So ultimately, with our solutions, we are able to predict crash risk. We have conflict models and metrics that we use that show a strong relationship to crashes. We have individuals on the team that have done a lot of the research that has formed that knowledge base. And when we present results back to our customers, we show them the conflict data, but we also are able to show them crashes that would be predicted in the future at locations. We can look at a lot of different locations. Ultimately, we work with 2 different sensors, traffic video cameras and LiDAR. And if they meet our specifications, we can work with the locations that you see here, such as intersections, railroad grade crossings, school zones, freeway weave areas, and other locations. And we'll spend time focusing on 2 of our 3 solutions, which is what Melissa mentioned earlier, Smart Safety and Smart Operations. Melissa touched on this a little bit. We are trying to reimagine how roadway safety is managed. There has been strong reliance on crash data for a number of decades. I spent 33 years prior to joining AMAG with US DOT, and much of my focus was advancing programs that relied on crash data. And there's been a lot of success in using crash data over the years, but certainly limitations. And there's new tools to use. And we're excited to actually offer some of those new tools to go beyond beyond crash data, and take a more proactive approach in using critical conflicts as an example that gives reliable predictions of future risk at locations. We're certainly moving on to newer technologies beyond loops and tubes that have been used in the roads for decades and taking advantage of a large infrastructure of traffic cameras that exist today, and also now seeing deployment of LiDAR technology. We are a software as a service company, which allows customers to have direct access to all the results that we create from our analysis, and they go into our platform and they can see heat maps, dashboards, pull down menus to drill into the data pretty deeply by looking at different fields by time of day, etc. So these are our 3 solutions. I will focus on safety and operations, but at the most basic level, we're able to get count data for 13 different road users, speeds and turning movements. We actually can go to 22 road users. We have deployed on shared use paths, where, as you might expect, you have a lot of different other road users, or I'm sorry, path users that you don't see on the road. So we actually have gone beyond the traditional 13 to also look at other multimodal users. So this shows you just at a very high level of the different products. I will first introduce safety and go through some of the features. Safety's kind of formed the foundation of what we've been able to offer, and now we're really pivoting in a very strong way to operations, because we really see that opening up a lot of possibilities in how agencies manage safety and operations. It's a really exciting solution, given it offers real-time problem ID of different events and trends, and then also to activate real-time solutions. So this is what our customer sees when they come into our software platform. Basically, we have 5 different modules. 3 of them are with us. 2 of the other modules are not actually active yet. They're being worked on outside of our company, actually, right now by one of our sister companies. And this gives the customer access to all the sites that we've been able to process video analytics for, and they're able to have a certain number of licensed users go in and see all the results presented through tables, through reports, through drop-down menus and dashboards. We do have a strong partnership with Amazon Web Services. We use one of their services and one of their products. We use AWS to do our processing in the cloud, and we also use their Amazon Panorama device, which is an edge computer, which I'll speak to in just a minute. They did a detailed review of our tech stack, looked at our architecture and all the different factors that you need to maintain to a high level of standard, and ultimately they qualified us as having software that can be listed on their marketplace. So with respect to smart safety, there's a few different applications. You can get a very robust risk profile of different locations where you have cameras or LiDAR. It allows you to gain a really strong understanding of where the greatest risks are, the types of risk, and when these risks are occurring. If you're interested in looking at the network level, if you have the infrastructure with the cameras, you can actually do network screening across your region and identify what locations are in most need of safety improvement, and then before-after evaluations. So I'll give some examples of some of these in the following slides. So this is a network screening application. We're looking at 50 sites here. We process the data, and we can look at the severe conflict rates. So we can look at conflicts based on the different models and metrics we use. And we have 5 different models. One of those models actually evaluates the severity of the conflicts, which is delta V, which takes into account impact angles the mass of vehicles and speeds. And so if two vehicles were to continue on their trajectory from going from a conflict to a crash, we can estimate the severity of what that event would become. And so this example is showing you conflict rates based on using that model, the severity delta V metric. Just a few examples of some case studies. We've been working very closely with Bellevue, Washington. Bellevue, Washington is certainly a leading adopter of safety technologies, and we've been very fortunate to work with them in advancing our solutions. They were very interested in evaluating the safety effects of leading pedestrian intervals, and they wanted to know pretty quickly whether this countermeasure was having the benefits that they were hoping to achieve. So they asked us to come in and evaluate 20 intersections where they deployed this countermeasure. And they're very much focused on noon to 6 p.m. where they were starting to see some pedestrian problems, and that's why they wanted to implement this countermeasure. So they asked us to focus in on that time period. This is just one example of one location of a heat map, looking at the before period on the left, where you can see some conflicts, some heat zone, and then in the after period, they basically went away. When you look across all the 20 locations, we found a 39% reduction in the conflict rate per 1,000 pedestrians, and then the total number of conflicts involving pedestrians went down 73%. Another one that pertains to active transportation users is bicycle-involved crashes. There was a roundabout in Queensland that was having a problem with bicyclists getting into crashes. We know roundabouts are generally pretty safe, but unfortunately some safety issues can arise at roundabouts too. And so they made a number of geometric signing and pavement marking improvements to address some of the bicycle safety issues that they were seeing. And they wanted to know pretty quickly, were these improvements achieving the gains that they were hoping to get? This is the intersection, the roundabout, that basically shows all the improvements they made. And they found in the after period that they did see pretty significant reductions occurring based on our conflict analysis, a 77% reduction in bicycle-involved conflicts. An example from Canada, there's a Canadian city that was very interested in looking at some problems they were having with buses. These are transit corridors where they have very high volumes of buses, and they were seeing some issues arise, and they wanted to have a deeper understanding of exactly the issues that were happening surrounding buses. So they asked us to go in and apply our video analytics and identify where the conflicts were happening in these corridors and what types of conflicts. So this is just some examples that show you at certain locations where the conflicts were happening, and how, basically where you have these really strong zones where you see the red and the orange is where you have the biggest problems. So that's a quick overview of safety. I could give a lot more examples, but we wanted to really focus most of our time on smart operations. This is really opening up the doors to a lot of new opportunities for agencies, being able to work in real time, identifying different risks that are occurring on the network, but then also being able to respond in real time to those problems that are being detected. And we want to be able to the best that we can, is be able to intervene before you do have terrible outcomes, where you're starting to detect certain issues happening and you want to get in front of them becoming even bigger problems. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do with this solution. And I think you've picked up along the way that we're we're very much involved in using some advanced techniques here. And artificial intelligence is at the core of what we're doing. We also use advanced econometrics and statistical techniques to be able to measure different risks, different activities that are happening, and violations that are occurring, such as speeding, wrong way driving, red light running, etc. So this shows you what our architecture looks like for smart operations. So as I mentioned, our primary sensor that we use is a camera. We rely on high definition cameras that meet our specifications. And then we use AWS's Panorama device, which is an edge device that's located on premise, can be put like in a signal controller box, but it also could be located at a traffic management center. As long as there's high speed connectivity between the location where the camera is and the TMC, this device can actually be located in a TMC. So the processing is happening at the edge, and then we're processing all that data, and then it's being sent into our cloud, and we're presenting all the results back to our customer within our smart platform. So they will get alerts, they will get illustrations and different dashboards that they're able to see very quickly after the edge processing is occurring. It's important to make sure we get accurate results, and we're validating along the way. We do have a 6-point validation process. This is really important to us. When we provide our analytics, we want to make sure we have a lot of confidence in what we provide to our customers. So at a very high level, we want to make sure we get the count data right. So if we count 100 pedestrians using our technology, our AI technology in 1 hour, we want to make sure that we're trying to make sure that is really close to what is the ground truth. And we actually run validation reports for our customers where we compare what we get with our AI with the counts versus someone looking at the exact same video feeds and doing manual counts and then doing a comparison. So overall, our standard is 95% across all road users. And then within any class, we are shooting for 90%. So that's just looking at detection accuracy. There's also these other attributes that are really critical to getting right, such as spatial accuracy, trajectories, and making sure we're getting the detected trajectories correct against what's actually being observed at different times throughout the day, getting the flow data right, getting the speeds and critical conflicts. So this is a very robust process that we go through. These are, for the road users, these are the 13 classes. And as you know, there's a big focus in North America on active transportation users. So in the past several months, we were focused on getting e-scooters correct. And the good news is we now can identify e-scooters with high level of accuracy. We're actually working with the city of Austin, Texas, which if you've never been to Austin, you know it's the capital of the US for scooters. It's unbelievable when I go there and I see how many scooter users are there. They're one of the more prevalent road users, and so Austin was very interested in working with us and looking at what are some of the issues that they're seeing with e-scooters. So at a very high level, we get pretty deep insights into safety, risk, and operations. We can look at how crash risk is changing over certain time periods. So down here at the bottom, we can see, say over a 24-hour period, we've noticed that crash risk has gone up by 4%, which perhaps not a large number, but if it was a number that was significantly higher, then that would tell us that something different's going on and we need to better understand what we're seeing. And we can look at also how risk is changing for active road users. and then looking at flows and speeds and a lot of other metrics to really give you a good understanding of how well your facility is operating. So the customer is able to go in and identify which events, which violations, and which trends they want to track. They go in and they can figure which ones they're interested in. And so that's set up in the platform. And then what we do is we report back to them anytime these events are happening and watching what the trends are, and also pointing out specific violations that they have checked off. So they're all configurable, and we're in a comprehensive way measuring the speeds, the flows, the violations, elevated crash risk, and then we send alerts back to the customer in our platform anytime any of these indicators are operating out of their normal ranges, and then the customer can see what is happening and then decide, what action they want to take. It could be a longer term action, or it could be a shorter term action, and I'll give an example of that in just a minute. So this just shows you some examples of some alerts that you can set up. Basically, we're looking at aggressive driving, which is focused on drivers going a certain amount over the speed limit, looking at wrong way violations, pedestrians, and we start seeing a lot of pedestrians going outside the crosswalk. That could tell you that there's certain risks that you need to be concerned about, bicycle collision risk, head-on collision risk, and others. We also create video clips for the more significant events. So actually in this example here, I think we're actually showing an example. It's not a real wrong way driving event, but we're basically demonstrating that we would be able to identify a wrong way driver. And as you can imagine, a public agency needs to know very quickly if there's a wrong way driver, for example, going up a freeway ramp. And you've got to be able to get that information to, say, a TMC and let them decide, okay, what action are we going to take? How are we going to engage law enforcement if that vehicle continues going in the wrong direction? So we basically, within 10 seconds, we have that incident video clip coming into our platform, coming into a TMC, so they can actually see it and then get their own eyes on it to confirm that, yes, this is a real event that they need to start taking action on. We also have configurable conflict heat maps. We let the customers decide which conflicts they might be interested in. So you can see over to the left, they can identify which road users they're interested in identifying conflicts for. And they can also use this feature and doing a before-after analysis. So for example, we had a customer that made some changes to a roundabout. They were finding some issues in terms of vehicles finding the right pathway to get through a roundabout. They made some improvements to the markings, and we did an analysis of before-after period. The after period, you can see conflicts went down. We actually do not have the Google Street View that shows the improvements, but trust me, there were some improvements made to help out the drivers going through this location. So this is an example of a conflict between a vehicle entering illegally. You can see right here, they essentially did not come to a stop there and almost actually hit that vehicle. This is an example from Australia. One thing that I do want to point out is right on the right side of the screen, you can see the different metrics. So these are the results that pertain to this exact conflict. So basically, we have a delta V of about 20 kilometers per hour. So perhaps not a very high severe event, but obviously if something changed where one of those vehicles was going faster, the delta V could have been higher. Here's an example of a scooter user that crosses against the red. And then all of a sudden you see a car that's turning, and basically we allow the customers to get access to the video clips for different events that are deemed significant, and the videos are worth a million words. I mean, from a crash report, you're never going to be able to get to this level of information. You're piecing together what the police officer has noted on the crash report, but to be able to see exactly what's happening during these events is very compelling and gives you better evidence of how you would potentially address certain problems. So with smart operations, I mostly focused on what we can do in terms of detecting problems, either individual events, trends that are happening, or certain violations. The bigger opportunity that we see, and we're doing this with some technology partners, is being able to take action in real time. So we do work with partners that are able to actually communicate through APIs, through SDLC and NTCIP to actuate signal controllers, dynamic message signs, rectangular rapid flashing beacons, and also network traffic management systems. So for example, if there's a wrong way driving event, you want to be able to intervene very quickly. And through one of our partners, they can immediately activate signs that light up and warn the wrong way driver that they're going the wrong way. And then in addition to that, to drivers that are on the main line that are going in the right direction, giving them a message that wrong way driver's coming, stay alert, pull over to the side of the road, whatever the right message is. So that's really important, is being able to activate real-time solutions, and we're able to do that. I'm working with some of our partners, and also being able to alert connected driver platforms of upcoming risk. So for the wrong way driver example, we can work with a partner that does a geofence alert to drivers that are on that main line and let them know that there is a wrong way driver coming their way, and proceed with caution or pull over. We are working with the city of Bellevue a lot in addressing pedestrian safety. So we're able to look at these pedestrian activity zones or activation zones and detect certain problems. So for example, we can see that pedestrians are going to be caught in the crosswalk because there's not enough remaining green phase. We can detect that problem and then communicate with the traffic controller to do different solutions to enable safe patches of pedestrians, increase the walk phase, or hold the parallel traffic for longer green phase so there's no conflicting traffic with the pedestrians. So this is something we're really excited about. So we have a quiz. Sam or Melissa, do you want to handle this?
Sure. Or Sam, do you want to come in?
It's just if you want to click back, the answers aren't showing. Just if you, we have a prize. If you are the first person to answer correctly, you can just put A, B, or C in the questions window to answer.
We already have an answer here. Oh, we have some more coming. Doo-doo-doo-doo. The Jeopardy music.
So we do, yeah, we do actually have the correct, oh, we don't actually have the correct answer yet. Only because the person who answered the correct answer works for us, so it doesn't count. We're not sending you a prize.
It's a little bit.
So now we have.
kind of a trick question in a way, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, look at this one, A, B, and C.
Ah, well, that's actually, and when I look at this question, I would say that's the right answer. Now, I would say if you were going to only select one, it would be C. But to be honest with you, all of these actually work for smart operations. So it's a little bit of a trick question because we didn't tell you could select more than one.
And we did get the right answer there, so.
We did. I will contact the winner afterwards by email so I can get your shipping address, and then we will ship off the prize package to you.
Yoo-hoo!
Excellent, congratulations.
We won't embarrass whoever that person is, but unless Melissa and Sam want to. Any rate.
Trying to figure out the system, so I can't even tell. I can just see the answer, but I can't tell who sent it in. But Sam is very well versed in the system, and she will know.
To me, it looks like there's actually a tie, so we'll be sending out two, one to Mohammed and one to Michael. So congratulations.
All right.
Okay.
All right, excellent. So we wanted to leave some time for questions. We got about another 10 plus minutes, but just to summarize, I think you've gained an appreciation that there's a lot of different applications for using video analytics and AI to address safety and operations. And we know that around the world, there's a big push on the safe system approach, which makes perfect sense. It's definitely the right approach to take for a lot of reasons. And one of the important principles of the safe system approach is to be proactive. And that's certainly what conflict-based analysis methods do. And I think at the core of that is with operations, being able to take real-time actions is certainly being proactive. So we're really excited that our solutions sync up with that approach quite nicely, in that we didn't spend too much time on this, but we're able to predict crash risk pretty accurately, and a lot of it comes back to a lot of the research that members of the team have done, including Tarek Syed, who's from the University of British Columbia, professor there. I know there's some folks from Western Canada on the call, so I thought I would mention his name. He has done a lot of the research that's at the core of our models and being able to predict crash risk. And then finally, I've made this point several times that the real-time monitoring is what we're really excited about. It just opens up so many new possibilities about how we address safety and operations. And with that, I will turn it back to Melissa.
Well, thank you for that. Really appreciate the overview. And I think everybody on the call can tell and see why we're so excited about this technology. It looks like we have a question, so I'll just read it out for you, Mike, and have you respond. How does this software define near misses, and can a user modify the parameters?
Yeah, so just maybe start with a basic response, and then I'll tell you a little bit more. So in terms of near misses, we actually, so critical conflicts, we have 5 different models, and I'll get to that in a second. But near misses are actually a subset of conflicts for the way we view this space. A near miss would involve an evasive action. So someone applies their brakes really hard, or they take a very evasive steering maneuver. And we don't just look at near misses. So, you know, evasive maneuver, that's obviously important that, you know, that's observed, but it's not the only type of events that you should be focusing on, because we do know from our research that conflicts through the use of time to collision, modified time to collision, post-encroachment time, and also using delta V, looking at the severity of conflicts, are all, the metrics that we use in terms of time, we're generally focused on 1.5 seconds or less. And we don't let the customer decide what that threshold is. That's something that we've never considered. Obviously, it would be an interesting conversation to have, but we're trying to anchor it back to what our research shows. So typically, we're going to rely on 1.5 seconds or less. I know in the past that we looked at other thresholds. So you may have, if you've seen a presentation from this in the past, we might have referenced something we did at 3 seconds, but typically we're going to be focused on 1.5 seconds or less with our different models and metrics.
Absolutely. And then when it comes to the alerting functionality, you're actually able to adjust the thresholds yourself. So when it comes to the alerts that you'll receive around the different violations and events or conflicts, you can adjust thresholds on that front. So I know it's not near miss specific, but there is some configurability there in terms of what you're notified of.
Yep, good point.
Let's see. Okay. Is the system able to break down the near misses as far as reasons for why they occurred, such as stop compliance?
That takes some interpretation. So like I mentioned, I showed you some video clips. I think to really understand exactly why those events are happening, you do need to look at the video clips and see how those events are unfolding. And then having obviously as much information about the site characteristics. We do actually have, I didn't mention this, but in our safety solution, we do have a countermeasure interview tool. And we take the user through a set of different questions. We'll dig deep into the site characteristics and then ask them questions about anything they have in terms of previous safety issues that have been occurring there, but then also look at the conflict data. And then we will present different countermeasures for them to consider. It's a starting point. It would never replace the knowledge and other tools that engineers and other professionals have at their disposal. So we see our countermeasure interview tool kind of as a starting place to give them an idea of some countermeasures to consider. But in the end, like what I was saying is we're not going to be able to tell you necessarily exactly why those problems occurring, but we can give you some indicators. They might not necessarily be definitive, but we can give you some pretty good indicators of what's happening. And then obviously, I think an agency needs to go a little bit deeper with other sources of information that they might have.
Yeah, and this is really where I see the video clips being a massive advantage and differentiator for AMAG, because with every alert, with every notification, you are receiving that 10-second video clip. So you are able to review it and better understand and gain additional context around what happened and what could have potentially caused that conflict or near miss. Okay, let's see here. Can you confirm that the system runs off of the organization's communication network, or is there a built-in modem? We can confirm that we can either run off of your communications, so we can tie into existing communications, or we can provide a modem as part of the solution as well. So we can tie into your existing communications or run independently with a modem. This is an interesting one. I'm sure it's on everyone's mind. What challenges do you see from a privacy point of view for cities to adopt this technology? And it's interesting, we just had a lot of discussion around this at the Police Innovation Summit yesterday. Privacy is obviously a primary concern for many agencies, and AMAG does have the ability to blur faces, blur license plates, so that's one consideration. The other consideration is that you do have the ability not to record video, so there is the ability to to not record any of the video, but still get all of the information that the system is providing outside of those video clips. Michael, is there anything you'd like to add to that as well?
Actually, question's very timely because we're actually dealing with a customer right now where this has come up, and we basically told them what you said, which is we can blur images, and so actually you're almost looking at like illustrations in a way, so you would never be able to identify who the person is or who the car is, but you can still identify the conflicts and see exactly what's happening. It's just you're not seeing as like a real video per se. It becomes more almost like an illustration, and I think that puts people at ease when they see that. But we know this is a ongoing issue, you know, not just in transportation, but across, you know, society. So we're always looking for people's ideas on how to address that.
Absolutely. I'll go on to the next one here. If an agency makes some modification to a site where conflicts are higher, can the software impose those changes to the site and show how much difference it made in terms of reducing the conflicts? Yeah, absolutely. So basically, you would make the modifications. We would then go through a reconfiguration phase where we would reconfigure the zones and everything that's required to be able to perform the analytics. And at that point, you'd be able to see how you're performing under the new conditions. And the great thing about this software as a service is that all of the data is stored indefinitely in the platform. So you're able to easily compare date ranges and go back in time to compare perhaps a heat map and see what the impacts are, or to look at crash risk ratings or numbers in general.
Yeah, thanks for handling, because I missed part of what you said, so I'm glad you handled that one. So thank you.
Absolutely. Let's see. Oh, there is one here about GPS software. I'll be reaching out to you directly on that one. There is a question here asking us to elaborate a little bit on detection cameras and LiDAR devices. I'm just going to do a bit of a time check here. Sam, are we okay? I know we're at 3:45. Are we going to get kicked out of here, or do we continue?
No, we want to be mindful of everybody's time. So if you do need to leave now, that is totally okay. We're going to answer a few more questions, but we will be sending out the slide deck and a recording of the webinar tomorrow to everyone, just in case you missed this last little bit or you want to take another look at the slides.
So I think what I was hearing is some questions about the detection cameras and LiDAR. Can you just say that again? Let's make sure I got it completely right.
Yeah, so I think my interpretation of the question is the specifications potentially of the cameras and the LiDAR devices.
Got it. Yeah, so we have a whole video traffic camera data collection guide that lays out the specifications of the cameras that we like to work with. But at the most basic level, we work with high definition cameras. We really want to make sure we're going to be able to produce accurate and reliable analytics, and high definition cameras that meet certain specifications have worked out really well for us. With LiDAR, we are not as far along with LiDAR as we are with traffic cameras. We have done some work with LiDAR in the city of Bellevue, and we've had some success, but we still have some more work to do there. But we're pretty excited about the potential that LiDAR provides, because obviously with LiDAR, you're not concerned with lighting conditions and weather as you are with traffic cameras. You can work with high dynamic range cameras, which overcome some of those problems, but there can be there can be some challenges depending upon what cameras you're using and where they're oriented in terms of working under inclement weather conditions or limited visibility conditions.
Absolutely, and in terms of the camera, we're looking at 720p and 15 frames per second, as well as 180-degree field of view, if possible. So those are just a few of the specs there, but we're happy to provide you with the guide if you'd like more information. I think that is it. Yep, I think we've gone through all of them. There is one asking if we can share the slides of the presentation. As Sam mentioned, we will be sending a link to the recording of the webinar, so you will be able to get that there. And I think, Mike, there's another slide there just with our contact information, and I would like to make that available to everybody, or there you go. So feel free to reach out to me directly or any of your Stinson account managers to get more information on AMAG. The CEO of AMAG is actually going to be here next week, I believe, or the week after. So we'd be happy to have him attend in-person meetings and demos as well. Okay. And with that, I'll close us out. Thank you so much, Mike. Really appreciate it again. Appreciate your time and willingness to join us today. And to everybody that attended, really appreciate you joining and being here with us today. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.